1 p.m. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we'll move on to roll call.
Cheryl Massaro, present.
Colin Conklin, present.
Christy Chong, present.
Will Furry, present.
Sally Hunt, present, or Sally Hunt on the phone.
LaShaka Bourne.
All right, thank you. So do we have any special announcements for this meeting?
We do not have any.
Okay, so then we'll move on to board member liaison updates. Ms. Massaro.
Actually, I don't have any today,
Okay.
so that nobody has met since the last
Right.
time we met.
Yeah.
No, they're meeting tonight, which I can't give you.
Okay.
The only thing I have is a reminder. I don't know if any of you have gotten or seen the invitation, but this Saturday, Live Like Curtis is having a fundraiser.
Can't live like
Live like Cameron.
Nope.
Curtis is a new one?
No. Curtis Grace,
Okay.
Mom's
Oh,
Foundation.
Yeah.
LLC, Live Like
Yes.
Curtis.
Yeah.
Sorry. Right? Did I say Curtis?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You did. There was Live Like Cameron was.
Yes,
they're having
Cameron is
something
another
this
one.
weekend
Yeah.
as well.
Exactly.
Oh, there is?
Yes,
Okay.
there is.
Yes, I think it's it's from 5 to 9, and it's a casino night at 1405, right here. So just wanted to throw a pitch out there for that event.
Okay.
I don't have anything. Next week is Benel PTO, so I should be able to make that. And I haven't heard anything yet about health advisories, so I need to check on that.
All right. Ms. Hunt, do you have anything?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Chair Furry.
Okay. So then I will do mine, and we'll start with first the Flagler Chamber. They did their first financial literacy workshop, which is one of, I believe, a series of 6 or 7 that will continue on throughout the year. So they're very excited about that. Also, they'll be hosting some job expos at our middle schools in coming months, which was very successful last year. I'm very happy to see that's continuing. And that will happen both at Buddy Taylor Middle School and Indian Trails Middle School at different dates. And also, prior to those expos, there'll be the teachers will engage with their students. This is for 8th grade, to help them prepare for the types of questions that they might ask these businesses that are going to be present there. And the majority of these businesses are businesses that are right here in our community. So these are jobs that they can start looking forward to taking, being involved with right after high school if they so choose, right?
Yeah.
So that's that.
That's great.
Yeah, and the Flagler Auditorium, They are excited to announce that they have a new parking lot, and it is completed, and they're very happy about that.
And we haven't had any issues with
And
all
no
the rain.
issues with all the rain, and that's always been a struggle, right? So that was a great investment there. And also, they do have a new sound system, so if you haven't been there in a while, you might have a
It's
whole
awesome.
new
That was
experience.
long
So,
overdue.
Right?
Long overdue.
Also, they'll be bringing the St. Augustine Orchestra and the Air Force Falconeers to the auditorium in October. Also, several grants totaling $8,000 were given to the music teachers and the arts teachers in the county, so great investment there. And so that is the Flagler Auditorium update. Also, Old Kings Elementary, they did not meet this month, so we'll catch up with them next month. And for the Flagler Education Foundation, just want to highlight the Josh Cruz Gala is coming up here on November 15th, and the theme this year is going to be the Jungle Book. Okay. And I am also the liaison for both Belterre Elementary and Indian Trails Middle School. And our school board elect, Ms. Ramirez, is also very much involved in those schools. And so in abundance of caution with Sunshine Law, I've decided to let her come up forward today to give us an update from the last two meetings for the PTO. Can you come forward, Ms. Ramirez, and share those?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so Belterre had their first PTO meeting. It was very successful. Many more parents than in the past. The new board for PTO, they went through the parking lot in the morning. They gave out mints, so you're meant to be a PTO member. So more parents came. They brought their kids. They had coffee, donuts. And then SAC was held immediately right after that. They have October 3rd Camp Read-A-Lot, and Ms. Lashaka will be the reader there. They're going to have free Kona Ice, free hot dogs, different grade level stations, and because it is a Title I school, everything is free, and they were a little short on funding, and so one of the parents that was at PTO that also stayed for SAC had a business that donated about $400 to help
Nice.
provide more of the food, because they really think they're going to have a big turnout. And so that's for Belterre. So they also had their first dance, very successful. The dances typically raise thousands of dollars for specific grade levels. So second grade will get a big chunk of that to go towards buses and their field trip that they'll have at the end of the year. Indian Trails Middle School held their SAC meeting, and they discussed their student success course, which used to be called OMG. They changed the name. It's actually pretty incredible how it's created, and I'm going to look to see if the other middle schools does something similar. I wasn't sure, but basically, if for those parents that aren't aware, that instructor for student success, they're a subject matter expert for a specific course. So algebra, for example, all the students that are in algebra will be in that course, and so that's going to help with tutoring that's built into their everyday class. So that was really great. They talked about being an A school. They went over the formula, how proud they all are. The main thing was the percentage of how much each topic improved. So for the students, and it was just pretty good. Everyone was extremely happy. All the teachers that were there, so it was nice. And then also 2 of the coaches. So I believe they have 4 potentially coaches, but 2 of the coaches, they teach a health program, and their goal, they wanted to actually certify all the students and build it in their curriculum, certify them in CPR and first aid through American Heart Association. So those 2 coaches are getting certified to be instructors. One of them used to be instructor years and years ago, so she wanted to get back into it. So they're going to be trained, and then it will actually be a lot less money for them to train the students, and their goal, it could be potentially 800 kids to certify in CPR and first aid, and they're going to start that hopefully in December.
That's pretty
So-
cool. Is that on the CAPE list? But I'm just curious.
I don't think that
It'd
is.
be interesting if it is. It'd be a perfect thing for a health
But I will
coach
tell
or a
you,
teacher.
FPC, the athletic trainer who is a certified instructor, he just certified 29 seniors in healthcare BLS CPR.
That's awesome.
So that's like kind of a goal. They're all just gonna walk out with that
That's great.
certification. But that's all I have for
Very
today.
good. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. So just to clarify on that, on the sunshine law, we as board members can talk to each other outside the boardroom, but we can't talk about anything that we might come back to the board to be voted on. And in these SAC and PTO meetings, sometimes some of those things could potentially come before the board. So just as, but I do appreciate that informative update. Thank you very much, Ms. Ramirez. Okay, so we will move on to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda today?
No.
Superintendent Moore? No. Okay, so then I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms.
Second.
Massaro and a second by Ms. Conklin. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. We will move forward with this agenda. So now we'll move on to public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment this time?
signed up for public comment.
Okay, then we will move on and go to our first agenda item, which is academic services, a student progression plan by Dr. Angela O'Brien and Mr. Reeves. Welcome, thank you.
Absolutely. Board members, Superintendent Moore. So we have before you today our red line draft of our student progression plan. And just a little bit of the why before we started. The school board is required to develop and present a student progression plan. And basically, as we establish it, it's our procedures and requirements for how we move from grade level to grade level, and serves as a guide for us. And this plan has been developed to provide each student with maximum opportunity to succeed in school and to gain the appropriate educational foundation. And that's from statute 1008.25, which requires us to do this and maintain that. And a little bit of background, the last several months we've been working on this process. We finalized the board. I'm not going to go into the 25-26 folder and start redlining again for the next year, because statute change, rule changes, and also as a guideline for us so that scenarios come up that we didn't anticipate, we make those adjustments to kind of help serve as a guide for future opportunities. So just so you know that the teaching and learning specialists provide input to this, our directors, principals, assistant principals, academic coaches, assistant superintendent, even some inquiries to our attorney just for clarification. So that was the process that went into getting to where we are today. And there's a lot of red in here, and some of it's just some small pieces and parts. Others are a little bit more substantial. We're going to cover the substantial pieces and then open it up to any questions you may have. Okay? So starting on like page 10 of the plan, you'll see that there's just some, in the bottom area there, about criteria for student placement. And basically there is to try and clean this up. And so we created hyperlinks so that when a parent or student goes into this and clicks on that link, it'll take them to their grade level specific area to kind of give them those directions and information on what to anticipate, both for students who come from out of country, which we're seeing an increase of that, literally across the state, but also for our homeschool PEP students, charter and private students, to kind of give some guidance and direction to that piece. Turning your attention to page 12 and 13, some things were somewhat unspoken, and we kind of formalized those. And so there was some parameters, in particular for our students who took standardized state exams, AP, ACE, IB, and we had grade equivalents. So a student may not be performing academically well during the year, but then scores a grade that shows mastery of content and beyond. And so we allowed for 4s and 5s to be a part of that, but we expanded to include our 3s as well, because the 3 does demonstrate mastery in the course exams, but also brought some clarity for our IB exams, ACE exams, and AP exams that was not quite as clear as before, especially for our high schools that are navigating that information. And then also on page 13, just so you know, teaching and learning has worked very diligently last year with DOE and our RTI groups from USF to develop and modernize our MTSS manual. And so that has been brought up to speed. That's been overdue. It's about 5 years since the last one. And so we've got input into that process and embedded that here as well to kind of give some guidance and direction for that, as well as to help understand our processes for moving students through a multi-tiered support system.
Can I just ask, do you want, Chair Fury, do you want us to wait till questions at the end, or do you want as we get to the section?
We could do it in sections, yeah,
Sure.
because, yeah.
What
Okay.
works for you guys?
So on page 8, they talked about students are expected to participate in the statewide assessment except for those now with an active IEP. And
For whom alt assessment has been identified. So it's not just the IEP, but those that are identified for the alt assessment.
so if they have an IEP, there's an assessment, but they are not required to take the state assessment.
If their IEP is identified for them to have the alternative assessment process, then they would not be required to take that EOC exam. They
Okay.
have a
So
different path.
only, and it's a very small
less-
percentage
I'm
that,
gonna say
that qualify
1%.
to have an alternative assessment.
Yeah.
So you could only be exempt, this is so crazy. So you could only be exempt if you, in your IEP, have it documented that you require an alternative assessment.
If
And
the-
they're not, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If the team, it's a team decision, so it's not on one person, but the team decision makes the determination based on student performance, other data and information that comes into that process. They're the ones that make the determination if it's going to be alt assessment or not.
Wouldn't it be, when I hear the percentage, like 1%, that's concerning to me. Wouldn't it be more advantageous to allow more than 1% to take an alternative assessment?
And I think Dr. Halliday is in here. Come on up.
Come on up.
Because there are strict guidelines
By
towards
DOE.
who
Okay,
qualifies
so
for
you
it.
can do it, but you gotta check all the boxes.
Yes,
That
there
is
are very
correct.
strict guidelines towards that.
So why put the rule in there?
Yeah.
But anyway, okay.
Yes, so the population
I got
that are
excited when I
eligible.
saw that.
Well, the population of students that are eligible to take the alternative assessment, yes, it's an IEP team decision, but it is also a very extensive list of criteria that a student has to be able to meet just to be eligible, not only for the alternative assessment, but for the access points, the modified curriculum.
What would be something like that?
A person with a significant cognitive disability.
So
Developmental.
significant.
Significant. So not only do they have an IQ of 69 or below, there are other factors as well.
Okay. Got you.
Yes, it is a very full IEP team decision that is, you've exhausted all of your resources
Got it.
for a general ed curriculum before you're there.
Okay.
That's why
Thank
it's so
you.
small.
For sure.
Then that other was page 10. And I take it, we're seeing this now possibly because of the large numbers of choice students and whatnot, and the return. Thank you,
For sure.
Dr. Halliday. Because we're seeing, I'm hearing this a lot from friends of mine who are educators, that students are coming back into the school system and they're behind. And so I'd have to believe that this portion is being born from that. But I'm curious when I click on, some of the details behind those students who are returning or coming to public school for the first time from a homeschool setting or a private school or whatever that might be. It will be based on, so if they come with no assessment, as I read it, right? Because if you click on the link, then it brings you to page, I think, 28. But if they come with no assessment in the portfolio or from the private school, then they would have to sit for an assessment here at the district in order to be placed appropriately in the correct grade.
There are guidelines for each grade band or level. So if you go to the K-5, there's some language that allows for us to assess, all right? For your secondary, 6, 8, 9, 12, it's a little more stricter as far as the rulings that came through DOE about how we place. Technically,
So it's not just based on age anymore.
no, it hasn't been for some time.
Okay.
So if there, a parent could, in theory, present a document that's signed off that says that they have completed X grade level We have to take that by statute at face level, face value. Based on how the student performs, if they're not meeting the standards, they may be moved back.
So even in that scenario of the portfolio where there's not an assessment given, but the portfolio is signed off by a certified educator, right?
Mhm.
And they come, are they still taking, I view it almost like when freshmen arrive on campus, they're taking a placement exam, right? Is it the same kind of thing, like even in that scenario, because there's no assessment, are they coming and having to take a placement exam of some sort?
I mean, we have to take the information at that face value. We're not
Okay.
allowed to, if the student is not demonstrating proficiency in the standards, then we can begin to assess or move depending on performance. But we have to take initially at value what they're saying they're at as where they're at.
So they will come in and they will take our normal assessments within our scheduled time, but it will not be placement. And this language that is on page 8, I think it was, that we were in, I had gone to the next section, page 10.
Yeah.
This language came out in a memo from DOE adding in specifically like our homeschool, private. So this is language that you'll see across the state with this new placement, how we place students.
In particular, secondary.
Yes, particularly secondary.
And we'll talk about further along, but I think you mentioned the scholarships and such, so there's now, we've, with Ms. Bosterdet's assistance. heading
Come on
this
up,
up
Ms.
quickly-
Bosterdette.
Heading that quickly for us, but the PEP, the Personalized Education Plan. So because we already had a few families that were exercising that option, and we had to stand up some things to kind of, to speak to the PEP process,
Okay.
both for just grades and that stuff, but also the finances, right? Because they're getting their piece of, Louise, you want to speak to that piece of it?
And could you also talk about placement?
Sure. So we have the scholarship program for the personalized education program where parents are really in charge of the education that their students receive. Through that, they receive money from the state, which means that in our state reporting, we do not report them for funding. We have looked at other districts across the state, and including Florida Virtual School, to see what their setup was, and they charge a nominal fee per course in lieu of, like, that's almost equivalent to what we would have received had we report them in the state survey, and it allows for them to still have money, even if they opted for a full schedule with us, they would still have the ability to purchase other services as such. Students who are part of the PEP program may still participate in dual enrollment. There is still a process that is free of charge because dual enrollment has statutes in place that you cannot charge any K-12 student for any dual enrollment class. So as long as they haven't met graduation requirements, they're still eligible for dual enrollment. And Daytona State College, which we have the bulk of our students enrolled for dual enrollment, they have a process in place for all of our PEP students. So we provide that information to any parents who are interested in partial enrollment through PEP or otherwise.
Okay.
So in our PEP students, it's a similar placement guidelines. They come in, they provide the portfolio of what they have accomplished. They say, this is a course I'm interested in. Some of the current students that we have, we see them a lot of times are interested in the elective classes for which they may not have the means to provide instruction at home. Band, even physical education, you know, some of those pieces that they wouldn't be able to adequately do in the house without having multiple students. So we see students coming in for those opportunities.
Okay. So I guess I interpreted it, I guess, wrong then on page 22 when we were talking about looking at grade placement for home school students, charter school, and private school students. 2nd through 5th grade, I read that red line, the new language,
Right.
as though grade placement is not automatic. If there is not, including standardized tests student has taken, if no portfolio is present or portfolio does not show evidence of grade level mastery, and what you're saying is that does not have anything to do with an assessment test. The parent or the certified educator could sign off saying it was grade level mastery.
Yes,
They
that
can,
they've
that's
passed
correct.
this course.
And it's not
Okay.
as it be content, it could be, just to be a valid certified teacher, current.
So the the school must administer both reading and math cumulative exams. That, what about for, okay, so I get the homeschool piece. What about private and charter school students? Because there's no portfolio there.
No, you'd have a transcript.
Transcript.
And we take that transcript at
Got you.
tonight.
Okay. But a private school, if they're coming without an assessment,
Are you asking about the 30% inclusion in the course grade calculation for like those special courses, the EOCs, civics, US history, biology, algebra 1, and geometry?
I was just talking about the portion of the pupil progression plan that talks about grade placement.
Okay.
And where, because again, we're hearing from a lot of the teachers that kids are coming back.
Yeah.
And they're behind.
If they come in from from any of these areas and their records, what they have, say that they're in 6th grade, that's where they will be placed, in 6th grade.
Even if there is an assessment, even if there is no assessment to say that's what their grade level is.
Even if they're, yes.
Statutorily, we have to acknowledge and honor
Okay.
either the parent document that says that they've notarized or the portfolio.
So we still will give our assessments.
Correct.
Right. Is it me or the language?
The language
seems a
does
little
read as, yes,
confusing.
I think the language definitely needs to be cleaned up some, because it does read as if we're going to give them this assessment and then determine placement.
That's how I
Yes.
read it. Again, doesn't mean I read it right, but
I-
that's how I interpreted it.
And I'm reading page 22.
Yes, me
Yes.
too.
And I do want to, the reason why I asked the previous question about the inclusion of the EOCs is because there are some nuanced elements. If a student comes in from a private school from which they are not required to take the Algebra 1 EOC, but the transcript reflects that they have completed Algebra 1 with a passing grade, we honor that grade. They do not have to sit for the Algebra 1 EOC to be included as 30% of the student's overall grade, as is done with EOCs for students in the public setting. However, they still have to meet the assessment requirements that are part of the graduation requirements. So you have to pass them
Oh, so-
math tests. Yeah, so like even I took the Algebra 1 class, and
So you're
let's say
taking it anyway.
So let's say I took
Yes.
Algebra 1 and geometry as a 7th and an 8th grader, and then I transfer in, or I did that as a home education student. When I come into the high school, I still need to meet the assessment requirements that are aside
So they're
from the
not-
coursework, so they're still going to sit for that exam at some point, or get the concordant or comparative score in order to meet that
Okay.
element of the graduation requirement.
makes sense.
And then for the PEP students specifically, in order to qualify for PEP, those students are required to sit annually while they're receiving the PEP dollars for at least one assessment.
Got it.
So they are still taking a standardized assessment.
Good, okay. That's helpful at least.
And just to clarify, the language says that, we based solely on the recommendation of home education or guardian, instead the principal or designee shall evaluate the portfolio or other evidence of achievement, including standardized tests. If no portfolio is present or the portfolio does not show evidence of grade mastery, then they administer the reading and math.
Yeah.
But if they were to administer the reading and math and still be off grade level, but the documentation says that they completed 7th grade, they're here to register.
They'd still go into
They're
7th
still
grade.
going into that grade, if it's that year or whatever the next grade is in the progression.
So the bottom line, what I'm hearing is, the bottom line is, if students come back really behind, it's not impacting their placement grade.
They will be placed based on the progression.
Okay. Okay.
But you have 4 weeks, I saw that you can adjust
So
that?
the student's placement may be changed in 4 weeks. So
Yeah,
if
so you have
they're
4
not
weeks to
show-
adjust that, right.
So if they're not showing mastery,
Right.
if they're behind significantly, there's things taking place, then
They can make that adjustment.
But the reality is, they probably
with-
just be part of the MTS
But
process.
with the parent.
With the parent. It's not
Right,
just,
right.
it's just not arbitrary. It's-
So we may make a recommendation that the child should be placed in a different grade. However, if the parent is adamant, no,
Right,
my
right.
kid is progressing, the kid is progressing.
Okay. That answered the
Yeah.
question. Okay, thank you.
And do we have an assessment on how many students that are actually coming back that are behind, that we've identified?
Be a great survey to.
Yeah, just to be aware of that, because that is something that, I don't know how you do it, but.
Anecdotal.
Yeah.
I can tell you at this point, we've had about a half a dozen or more that have come back that we're kind of submitting, but each one's looked at individually. We've had some very, very unique situations for some of our students who have returned to us that But in those situations, we brought teams together to talk about how to best serve that student in their surroundings and their setting, because it was such significant.
It would be interesting to even know how many return.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
You know, as we,
Right.
Yeah, even
you
if,
know, as
they-
this
yeah, whether or not
continues,
they're,
it'd be
they're
interesting
caught
to
up.
track that if there was a way to track that.
And Louise, from a data mining,
Yeah.
that would land in
That-
your
yes.
world,
So-
what would that look like?
So the only nice thing is for when a student withdraws from our school, there is a unique code that lets us know that they are withdraw to homeschool. So we could go ahead and look at any student has a withdrawal record to homeschool, how many have re-entered into Flagler schools, and how many years later.
Do we have the
Sometimes
same
it
for
might be.
private or charter?
Yes, there are also the private school withdrawal, and even for PEP, there has been a new code added to the state last year, so we have some WPPs that lets us know that they're a PEP
Yeah.
student, and there is a school set up for that.
That would
Yeah,
just be
I-
interesting
it-
to
it-
know.
It would, and I
Yeah.
think because of this new model, we're gonna have to, there are gonna be parents that choose different ways to educate their children.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be nice to see where, maybe we can come up with the brackets, but, you know, some might be using the PEP and doing the homeschool, some might be doing virtual, some might be just going, you know, and then seeing how many people come back after they leave and how long. Having these measures could also help us to anticipate what a percentage of returners might look like in the future, because especially if we always have to have seats for these students, we might need to start looking at that measure in case they do return in the future, right? So,
Well, and I think, you know, it will be an exciting time for all of you, because really, if anything, it's gonna force the conversation of how do we create smaller niche educational programs where parents can get the feel of a private or a small educational environment, but they're actually our schools. Like, we said that when charter schools floated around, we're going to have to get into the game of school choice. I mean, that's part of the reason for this whole thing anyway.
and I think one of our fastest ways through that PEP, because we can offer, the way I understand it with PEP, we go into that, you know, like Step Up for Students system, where we're offering our services for a price that they can direct dollars back to us. And this is one of those things that it's new to us, so I think we have to start somewhere, start putting in certain programs, class seats, when we have availability, things that somebody from a homeschool can't provide, we may be able to provide it, we may have room in there. We should start just putting this inventory in there and putting it out there and see how people respond. And, you know, this becomes a marketplace, really, so it's.
No, it really
It
does.
does.
Yeah,
And
it
you
really
know,
does.
looking at the high school, I've said for what, we should be looking at stadium scheduling. We should be looking, just like kids go to college and they pick classes to take, we should be looking at that. And actually, school could go from the morning until night. You have teachers that want to work in the morning, teachers want to work in the later afternoon and evening, and you have a scaffold scheduling, you know,
Yeah,
that it's more of a choice.
I kind of look at this idea of the PEP as kind of like the app store of education, where the parents can use it like an app store in a sense, and how that integrates with us, that will unfold in time. But it's clear that there is a desire to have this type of collaboration between public and private schooling. So, and that may be a way also to recapture some of the voucher dollars that are leaving, bring them back in through offering competitive products, right? That those parents have decided to take that money with them to spend it here, right?
And I think that in speaking with several parents who have gone through the PEP process with us and who have done partial enrollment, whether it was through homeschool prior to PEP or otherwise, the fact that we allow for the partial enrollment and we are very open arms about it, it gives the opportunity for our home education parents and our PEP parents to get a taste of what Flagler Schools is like and kind of evaluate it. And what we often see is that our students who are partially enrolled, they're coming back the following year to stay in those programs and to stay connected to the schools. We actually had a family, and their students participate in dual enrollment and virtual school. They were always the virtual school student. They decided to go the PEP route, and for their virtual classes, they chose our iFlagler franchise because they just liked the feel of having
local teachers, the
Right.
convenience of having someone there who knows the district, that still connection to it. So I think we are still drawing some of those families in because they see the services that that we provide and they appreciate them, so they keep on coming back to us. So we are trying to encourage parents that, we do have some timelines though, because it is very difficult to start. Like, you don't want to come into a class on December 1st when it's ending. So we do have some timelines for them to try to follow so that we can make sure that they have the most positive experience.
Have we ever thought about having like a homeschool summit? Like something where we invite all homeschool families and even private families to come to learn about PEP and partial enrollment and what some of those unique program opportunities might be that they just may not even be aware of how it all works.
Yeah, we've begun the discussion of how can we get the news out there of what we have available and to really bring students in. Yeah, we're certainly talking about it.
Just might be worth considering, not wait for them to invite you,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
invite them.
Be more active about that.
And, another thing too about with PEP is that, you have some parents have decided to homeschool for various reasons that may not have, these students may have never actually been on one of our campuses. So this may create an opportunity or experience for them to actually come and participate in a program or a class here, and then
Who knows where that'll lead,
They
right?
might see, well, actually, I might like this environment, right? So it goes both ways here when it comes to the access and opening it up. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Louise, how many do we have in PEP now since it's
Partially
starting?
enrolled?
Yeah.
I'm aware of 5 students
Okay,
currently.
so it's
Yeah,
rel-
and
'cause
those,
it's new.
yeah, those are partial
It's new.
enrolled students,
Right,
so.
and so we figured out a fee to charge for various classes.
Yep,
All right.
we just put
Yeah.
that structure in place.
Okay,
Yep.
so we have a structure ready
And-
to roll.
And for the parents who, we had some parents who we didn't want to hold up, like, we didn't have the financial aspect in place yet because we were trying to evaluate what other districts had, because we don't want to overcharge our parents. We want them to be able to
Sure.
come in and experience what Flagler Schools has to offer. So we played around with the price structure quite a bit, and we ended up following the structure that FLVS uses. They use a flat fee, regardless of it, and it's by semester, because the reality is a parent might come in for a semester and then decide it's not for them, or they might start out the year and then hear great things and want to start the second semester. So we spoke with the parents who were entering in, and we said, we don't have the price yet, but it will probably be around this, and they were okay with it. They wanted to enroll in our classes, and they were just happy to be part of it, so.
All right, so we're going to have an income then generated from this.
Yeah. Yes.
And where will that income go? Into the general fund? Probably,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well,
It'll pay for all the unfunded
I know
revenues,
you're
like
back.
transportation and
Okay,
everything
yeah.
else.
And
So
I would just be
that will help.
cautious in the pricing too, because,
Yeah.
the thing is that we want it to be accessible, but in this scenario, which is the new world, is that these parents have chosen to take their dollars with them to apply it to where they want it, that's their prerogative. But now re-entering, those dollars have already left, right? So we need to be mindful that because they've made that choice and they want to participate back in some of our programs, that we should not be taking a double hit by taking a loss on those programs, right? I mean, I hate to say it like, hey, we're trying to not necessarily make a profit, but if we offer these too low, we're taking potentially a double hit on the dollars, right?
I think part would be, this is our first year and our first
Right.
attempt at this.
Right.
And it's not written forever, so we can come back and adjust
And modify
as
it.
we see fit, either direction, and how we're offering and what we're offering. I will say Flagler's in the front of this
Great.
throughout the state, and kudos to Louise for standing up for that.
And that is, just like any program, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And then you can mold it from there, but you just got to get something out and let the parents give us the feedback, and their participation or lack thereof will tell us what modifications we have to make, so.
At interscholastic activities, for years, we've let homeschoolers participate for free. So is that included now, or we still following the?
So we looked at it from the standpoint of if a if one of our brick and mortar students wasn't charged for a athletic uniform to wear during competition, we're not gonna go ahead and charge it. Now, if every student has to purchase, you know, and I'm gonna use swimming, you have to purchase a bathing suit to be part of the swim team, and that comes out of your own pocket as a student athlete, then the same would apply there. But if you're on the basketball team, kids aren't paying for their basketball uniform that they're wearing for that season. So we don't have a pay-to-play policy currently for sports, so they would not be paying any fees that our brick and mortar students wouldn't pay. If there was an add-on fee that was required for all the student athletes, they would also have it. But we do follow the FHSA guidelines and the additional eligibility forms that would have to be completed in order to participate in interscholastic activities.
Because where my head is going on that is the fact that we're providing a service with the coach, and we're paying those staff to do those things, and there's transportation costs, and there's cost always associated with all athletics, even just maintenance of whatever the field or the gymnasium or whatever, you know, and that's for our public school kids. If we have this PEP program, I think there might be some impact there, or should be considered for, well, if they have to pay to sit in that chair with that professor or that teacher, then the same thing if they want to participate in that sport, then they're with that coach, and then, you know, they are different. They're different from our normal students. However you look at it, they're different, you know, and it's not that I want to eliminate homeschool kids or participants, but I'm thinking maybe more kids will decide they want to participate if they have that opportunity, not just homeschool.
Yeah, but the difference now is that before the homeschool, they were not getting scholarships. Now they do get scholarships.
Oh, yeah, it's a difference, I want to say, but.
So like
yeah.
what you're saying, to speak to what you're saying, is that previously homeschoolers would get access to our programs, but they were not receiving the scholarship money.
It was free.
But
Right.
now they are receiving scholarship money.
Right,
So
that's what I'm saying.
So
There's
essentially,
difference.
they will have, it's not like we're digging further into their pocket.
Yeah.
They have in fact received dollars from the state for their choice of education. So we just become another option in that marketplace that they've been put in.
And as Jeff mentioned, this is our first year, so that's something that we can certainly take a look at, see what the participation level is, see what, commensurate rates would be. I will say that, also as Jeff has mentioned, we're kind of ahead of the pack on this. When we reached out through our consortium, we're the only district currently who is accepting PEP students and has a mechanism set in place. The only other one that we could really
That's
find
great.
that had a
I love
mechanism
that
in
we're
place.
pioneering these things.
Was FLVS, and the reality is if you're an FLVS non-traditional student, you're not participating for an FLVS team, you're participating for a school for which you're zoned for, or through other choice processes that they have open for athletics for non-traditional students. So I think we're the only brick and mortar district that really has gone down this road at this time. There might be others across the state, but,
Well,
within
and
our
they may set
consortium.
the standard.
Yeah.
Who knows how that plays out.
And I think for us, and before we do this, Louise, if you'll talk a little bit about, let me ask a question. Is there a difference, are there different types of homeschool? Is there a difference between a student who is doing traditional homeschool of the past and PEP?
So the parents are still either route that you go, you're allowed to choose the curriculum for which you would like to use with your child. And the registration process for, like if I'm a home education student, it has to be a curriculum that is registered with the home education office. Through PEP, I don't believe it has to be registered through homeschool, because what happens is as a PEP student, you actually have to withdraw from the district's home education program. You cannot be tethered at all. So the parent is really the one who's driving all of those elements there.
So then the oversight, so there's no more oversight requirement?
If
It
you are
goes
in
through
PEP.
Yeah.
If you are in PEP, so, and I wanted to just make that clarification
That's
because
huge.
sometimes we say homeschool and we put all of those students in
Yeah.
the bucket, and we have to starting to look at them. There are some students who are in a homeschool program that are still connected to Flagler schools. They still turn their portfolio into us. They are
Right.
registered with us in a homeschool program.
Tradition.
A student who is in PEP is no longer registered with the school district. They're not turning anything into us. They are driving their child's education completely separately, and the funding the funding is different in that capacity. Those students are, that family is getting those dollars through whatever means, they're getting those dollars, they're utilizing those dollars in order to direct their child's education. And I just wanted to make that clarification so that we understand that there are students who are learning at home but are not our traditional homeschool students that we would have thought about a year ago or 2 years ago.
Right. I'm glad you made that
that are
clarification.
connected to us. So this year, when it comes to partial enrollment, be it they're coming, we're talking about PEP, right? And we're thinking about those students that are in PEP that may be learning at home. But when we think about partial enrollment, we have to think about it in a wider range as well, because there may be students that are in our private schools that want to be a part of it. So
Yes.
wherever they're learning
Yes.
and they want to come and be a part of our programs, this year, our first focus for the first semester was to build the mechanism and the platform in order for us to bring those students in. We do understand that that will grow and change and become better, more efficient, probably more aligned financially and all of those pieces. Also to develop the means for getting them enrolled and in those classes and on board. And I will tell you, after speaking with a parent they're taking advantage of this opportunity, there were some bumps in there. And so how do we smooth that out so that we take care of our full-time students, and then we can identify what other spots do we have for those students that want to come in and be partially enrolled, and how that looks like. Make sure that we're not overlapping or putting anybody in violation of FHSAA standards. So just so many different pieces. So that was our work really for this first semester. And on my board of things, now we're looking at PEP marketing. And not just PEP marketing, partial enrollment marketing.
yeah,
How do we begin to market? What do we have?
Well,
What are the
yeah,
steps?
how do you start
Who
building
do
that
you
bridge?
contact?
Yeah.
What does it look like? What if I want to come in and see it? So that's what we're really focused on now in order for us to be able to bring in more students beginning January at the change of our semester.
Sure.
The high school, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Example, the high schools, we would go to our private providers and market ACE, IB to have conversations about these avenues to re-engage
Right.
or to engage. And we oftentimes would get a number of students from those to enroll or to walk down the street and be a part of the band, or we had students, athletes this last year. So I think we just need to keep building upon our brand and what we have to offer. I think of our CTE offerings, right, for the whole conversation of Diploma Plus, right? Those are absolute opportunities that aren't typically available in that setting, that we have an advantage. So, looking at it from that perspective, how do we help make those things possible, those connections? Because at the end of the day, they're all our kids.
Yes.
And they're going to be in our community
Yes.
and employed, and we want them employed well. And having those pieces and parts. So I think just keep that process to build our brand of what we have to offer. Because we have exceptional education taking place in our district.
And what I was going to ask is if there's a mechanism too, that if let's just say that a parent exhausts their PEP allocation, right? There's a mechanism that they could actually pay over and above that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
we can. We can do, right now, so the goal is to do direct pay from their account, have an online payment via credit card in a circumstance like that, or we can just accept check and money order. One of the things that we're already running into is that through our procedure, we want the students to, enroll and before the semester starts, but we know that there are not even funds. I just read this morning that the funds haven't even been released for scholarship into parents' accounts. So if we're requiring them to pay before they come in and they don't even have access to their funds. So we're working some things out now
Yeah,
and
that
trying
could be
to
another thing to work through.
but
And DOE is aware of that. I mean,
Yep.
it's their
Can you
mechanism. They're
deny
trying to
requests?
correct and adjust.
We
We
do.
can. I mean, if they want calculus 2 and and we don't have space in calculus.
I was just
Sure,
gonna say,
yeah, absolutely.
there's
It's
no
based
capacity.
on
That's what I'm
capacity.
thinking,
Yeah,
I'm
it's all
just thinking of
based on-
capacity.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even in our student
Yeah.
progression plan, we spell out, and it's been spelled out for years since we started partial enrollment with our home education students, that priority placement goes to our full-time enrolled students.
Okay.
So if even our programs of choice and our programs of study that we have, that students are choicing into, if it's at capacity and we don't have space, we're unable to,
Offer that.
Yeah, offer that.
Okay,
And-
that's fine.
And just to build off of what you were just asking, because, we definitely should be filling up the spaces that we have currently, right? Are not costing us any extra. We have 5 extra seats in that class, right? But then, as we grow, as we build it, as you said, this is our first effort out. We may see that, boy, we had a lot of demand in that class. We could potentially add, and it could be just more seats for that class. And again, that's just like anything. You're always gauging supply and demand, right? And that's something we'll probably have to orchestrate with this new type of enrollment. So.
Are we required, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we currently do that with a lot of our course offerings as it is, but there are some courses that no matter how much the demand is, we can never meet the requirements because of OSHA guidelines in like a CTE class or a culinary class. You need very specific equipment. So even if there's that high demand, we're unable to add seats just because we have to be compliant with what the safety requirements are for that space, and because we don't have another facility on that campus that could host it. But we are kind of looking at those elements. And just to kind of give you a very broad overview of the process, a parent submits that they would like to participate in the partial enrollment. The Student Services Office will verify what type of student they are, traditional home education, PEP, FES, to see like which program they're a part of. And then from there, the request for which course they're interested in will go out to the schools. The schools will then reach out, have the conversation with the parents. Oh, we see that you wanted to take Calc 2. We currently don't have that offered. We do offer Calc AP Calc BC. Is this something that you're interested in? We have capacity here. I also saw that you wanted culinary. We don't have that available, but are you interested in so-and-so? So they'll have those guidance conversations, and then it will funnel back through
You're going to
those
need extra
element
personnel
pieces.
to handle all this.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's going to happen.
Are
Guidance is so
we-
busy now.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
It may eventually turn into another
Full-time.
position,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
exactly.
I guess it's just gonna depend on what the demand is for this program.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, hopefully it will support itself if it's that popular.
It'll pay as you go, so,
I'm
yeah.
curious, the, oh, it just went right out of my head. It was brilliant too, by the way.
It'll come back.
Aren't all your thoughts brilliant?
Absolutely not, but that one was a good one.
We believe you.
No, I can't remember it.
Maybe if we
Was
continue
it-
down the
Yeah,
progression
yeah,
plan,
let's
it'll
go.
come.
All right,
Oh,
well,
I think it was
this was a
really,
very
you
good
know,
conversation, though. I
are
think
we
it really.
Locked into only offering coursework
Yeah.
during the school day.
What do you think?
Evening
Tell us
Are
how
classes?
we only locked into offering, take high school, are we only locked into offering courses during the actual school day? Or can we also offer courses in the evening?
Evening, yeah.
If there is an evening course that we're teaching during that
No,
time.
I don't mean like I'm not talking about like night school for dropouts, right? I'm talking,
Stadium schedule.
yeah, basically.
We don't have that set up, like,
But is there
I'd be-
statutorily anything against us doing that?
No,
Not that
no,
I
because
know
we
of,
can, no.
but-
I don't
It
know
was
of any, I mean, I've
Yeah,
thought,
right.
I've seen, I mean, think about other
Contractual.
districts, when they get to a certain place in capacity, sometimes
They
they have
go
to do
split
split
schedules.
schedules and
Yeah,
all of
split
those
schedules.
things. We're just not set up at this time, to do that.
Oh, my brain is going a million.
That'd be more contractual.
That'll save from
Yeah.
building, could save from building if we have to do that, save money in the long run. Split schedule.
All right, I'll shut up.
All right. Moving along.
From page 10.
Wow.
Okay, here we
There's a
go.
lot of pages here.
All right.
Great conversations, great conversations. So we talked about our stuff for our advanced courses, the MTSS manual. Going to page 23, this is another large one, but math deficiencies. And this is a new statute that came into, language that came into effect with dyscalculia, and specifically having to provide resources to families to help assist with this, as well as it now reaches down into VBK.
So they exempt with dysgraphia and I mean, are they exempt from taking the math assessment?
No, they're saying that as they take the assessments, depending on their performance and other assessments, we may determine that that student may be eligible for more assistance and supports, much like we talk about reading deficiencies, right? And how they're identified for reading camp and those pieces. This calculus
Everyone's
now-
taking the assessment, Dr.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're dyslexic, you shouldn't have to take
Well, we
the
provide them
traditional
with,
assessment if you have dysgraphia or dyscalculia. It's the same,
this is saying that we are going to identify who those students are, and we're gonna provide
Extra
interventions for
support.
them.
And reaching down to VPK, which is kind of a
Yes.
first
Yeah.
as well. There's more language this year around VPK.
That's fine.
So, but that is math deficiency. And there's language on page 24 that kind of spells that out a bit more, and that's lifted straight from statute. The next piece would be page 27. And what page 27 addresses is the reading deficiencies and the new language that we have in place now for that. And it kind of strengthened what was in place to kind of help identify those students. We're already sending the parent letters home after like PM1. Hey, mom, dad, be aware. PM2, more conversations, more supports in place than PM3. This just kind of formalizes it a little bit stronger, put some more language around it to kind of help in writing, provide supports to families throughout the year, not just waiting until PM3 and,
is there a
Jeffrey's not.
check and balance at the district level to make sure that parents are actually being notified?
Well, we have the systems set up to be able to do it.
Okay,
We
so
can there
it's
are assurance.
automated? Okay.
And there are assurances at the school level that they know that they have to do that. So they're signing off on, in the comprehensive plan. But to your point, monitoring it is never a
Yeah, I'm just
And-
bad
curious.
idea.
And so our K-5 specialist, she works with the 5 elementary schools to ensure, she cross-checks, so that they get all the data along with the schools. So they can ensure that, down to the students' names, did we identify, have we sent the letters
Okay,
home?
okay.
So those protections are in place
Okay,
to
good.
ensure that, to the best of our ability, no one's falling through the cracks, as it were.
And then how do we build this out to be able to place it in Skyward for us to be able to go back to and say, okay, it was automated and sent to families, but do we have a record of it to say this is when it was sent? And so doing as much as we can in an automated way will allow for us to be able to go back and say, no, we did send it to
You were
you
notified, yeah.
on this day.
Good.
In addition, our MTSS process, our teachers and support teachers are inputting their information into Skyward. So we're tracking those open or closed reports to see how students are progressing. And so we're keeping track of that another way as well through MTSS. And on page 28 is the continuation of the reading piece, along with the New World's Reading Initiative, information there to account for that piece in part. On page 33, we added language to address dual enrollment. We have students that are dual enrolled in middle school. And so we added language in there just to kind of put that in place, as well as information there in 6 through 12. But statute changed with regard to social media and understand the effects of that on our students and young people. And that's that statute there of 1003.42. And that came out this last year. So we've added that into our student progression plan as well. The next piece, well, it's page 41, which is the same, but I'm pretty excited about page 44, and it's just it's 5 words, but it's the gold seal of the arts. And I sat in on some calls for the supervisor of the arts across the state of Florida, and our organization lobbied with other counties across the state to stand this up.
Nice.
And it is a wonderful piece and part that to have in place for our students who are in the arts, who love band, music, artistic expression, to give them an opportunity for recognition on their diploma. And we've been working really closely with Amelia Fulmer from the auditorium to put those things in place as she's working with the teachers, and we're close to finalizing that. And I think November 5th, we're going to put that together, and then working with Ms. Bosterdette and her part about how we track that and keep that information to kind of gather that for us. So that's, I think it's a great piece for our students, because we do have our students FYO, and the other things that we do for our students in the arts, it's great to see an opportunity for recognition. Okay. After that, on page 46, bringing ELL up to date as far as language. And the key particular for ELL is a couple years ago, they allowed us to put in place a portfolio option for our students. And so we submit annually every year to DOE our letter of our options, and they put that in place, but we wanted to formalize that in our progression plan so that our staff knows that this is an opportunity, as well as educators and ESOL teachers, but our parents as well, that this is an option for diploma for the students that are from another country or English as their second language. All right. On page 47, just a couple pieces there, more aligning ourselves with our board policies, but the exit interviews and dropout prevention, that was statute, just to align that we're going to provide written notice and certified mail about our process for dropout prevention. It's those speed sticks we try and put in front to try and help keep students in place, help them with their education, get them where they need to go to finalize. But then we also modified our GED underage waiver. And our old language was cumbersome, and we worked together with our attorney to kind of streamline that process, to clean it up. That made it easier for our students who needed another path for various situations. And there are a number of home situations. There's a number of factors that come into play that we need to provide an easy opportunity for the students to get connected and move forward, right? And so the language change does that for our students to help take advantage of that, and they have.
So what about the, like 18 credit diploma option?
Still an option.
Okay.
It's still absolutely an option, and you'll hear about CTE diploma
And
option.
where is that in this? Because I would have thought it would have been, but then again, maybe not. I was going to say,
So when you go to,
under dropout prevention.
It's under Excel. So the 18 credit diploma option, it used to be more utilized for as a dropout prevention tool, but a few years ago, I think as far back as 2016, they removed that requirement that a student declare it by the start of their junior year, and a student can declare an 18 credit option at any point in time. So it should be under the Excel piece. It's usually in the forefront at the very top of the student progression document. It's not really its own entity, because students have that opportunity at any point in time, whether if it's for dropout prevention or otherwise.
Would it be beneficial to repeat the opportunity or the offering under dropout prevention? Because if I have a struggling student and I look at your pupil progression plan for dropout prevention and whatnot, I'm going to think that the 18 credit diploma option is really for accelerated students, not dropout prevention students.
I believe it's also in the graduation charts that are
It
down
is.
below,
I was
those
gonna-
specific
I was gonna
charts
say on
that are
page
towards the
52
end.
to 55.
I'm just wondering if we
on the-
referenced it, if it was,
To-
We can certainly put another space. And I, as a
It's
former high
in
school-
50 right up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
As a former principal of high school, we want our students to graduate, right? And if there's something going on, we remove the barrier. So if an 18 credit option is the best option, we will flip that student to that in their
Right.
senior year to make that happen for them. So
And I think what Dr. Conklin, and please correct me if I'm hearing you incorrectly, is that if I'm looking at what are my options for a dropout, are we helping them to first think about maybe not taking some of the dropout options as far as GED,
Right.
but
Just
do you
graduate with
have
18 credits.
do you have enough to graduate with with 18 credits?
that's what I'm saying. If I'm a parent looking at that and I'm trying to figure out what to do.
How to help you?
I don't want my kid to drop out. I'd much prefer to know that there's an opportunity for an 18 credit. But if it's under Excel, I might think that would not be something.
I think
it's up on page 50 also, it outlines. It says Excel, but it is there as well, the 18 credit option for graduation, which is.
Yeah,
in the
I just
But her
maybe
question
a
is-
sentence
It's related to
under
formatting.
dropout.
Under dropout.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
I think we
Oh.
could even just link to it
Yeah,
there.
they just a hyperlink maybe to
Yep.
so that they know that's a possible alternative to dropping out.
I do think it is important to note, though, that the 18 credit option, it doesn't remove any of the core requirements. It comes from the
gotcha.
elective fields and
Right.
physical education.
There's some
So-
kids that just want to get
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
They're just done.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to prom. They don't want to do all of that. They
Right.
just they're done.
Yeah.
And to that point, we've added the language in there on page 51 for CTE graduation option is there as well.
Right.
And that language has been added to bring that up to date as well. for that. On page 57, we've kind of cleaned this up. This has been back and forth, but our international exchange students, and clean up this process with our attorney to have how to be eligible, how to come in, but also put in some language to address guidelines for the programs themselves, so we have accountability to that piece, as well as on for the future students as well, what's prohibited and stuff. So we clean this language up, which will, I think, allow a pathway now for those students that want to come in and be a part and get that high school experience that we want them to have, and for our students as well. As a principal of high school, great opportunities to have those cross-cultural opportunities and events. Our students benefit from that just as much as those students do as well. Notification of parents has kind of cleaned up the language for there just to be a little clearer. And on page 59, we cleaned up the language on reading intervention for high school, of what we're utilizing as far as for helping students with deficiencies, and created that piece for us. And then on page 60, 61, we cleared up the concordance options. Some of those things have sunset or faded or have shifted, and that clarifies that, so they'll be removed from the tables. And then just some more information about transfer grades, which we spoke to earlier. And then lastly, just to bring to your attention in the back as far as diploma options and information on page 67, 68. Here now. That dealt with diploma options, 1, option 2, which no longer apply. And so for our ESE students, those options for diplomas don't exist anymore. And so this cleans up that for us as well. Any other questions we can help with today?
Any other questions, board?
Lots of changes.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah, lots.
We're moving in that direction. We took some time this time around and got more people involved in the process to try and help get a lot of eyes on it. And we're going to continue to do that. And we have our takeaways as well that we'll update before we be at the 3 o'clock for our next meeting for that. So.
And we're working hard to get our 3 o'clock meeting back in our time frames.
Yes.
Because we've been doing good at our 1 o'clocks, but sometimes our 3 o'clocks get a little bit drawn out at times. So when they come before you at the 3 o'clock, they will only note they'll be there to answer any questions that you have, but draw your attention to any changes that they made in that time.
Gotcha.
So that we're not going to give this full presentation again at the 3 o'clock in order for us to be respectful of all of our times at our agenda meetings.
No, that was great.
Good, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Alva.
you.
Appreciate that. Okay. So now we'll move on to 8.01, School Safety Annual Compliance Report. Mr. Woollahan, welcome.
I'm hoping to be really fast.
I don't want us to be fast. I just want us to be very thoughtful about how our agendas flow.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair Furry, School Board Member, Superintendent Moore. I'm here today to present the annual School Safety Requirement Inspection Report in accordance with Florida State Statute. Under House Bill 1473 and 1001.212 Florida State Statute, the Office of Safe Schools is required to provide quarterly reports to each district school superintendent and school safety specialist. These reports identify the number and percentage of schools, including charter schools, that were inspected or re-inspected during the quarter, as well as the number and percentage of inspected schools that had no deficiencies related to school safety requirements. The school safety specialist must present each quarterly report to the district school board in a public meeting. Additionally, during the first quarter of each school year, the school safety specialist is required to report in a public meeting the number of schools inspected during the preceding calendar year, as well as the number and percentage of schools that were in compliance during both the initial and re-inspection. There is no exemption or exception in the law for the first quarter of the 2024-2025 school year. Therefore, I'm here today. The school safety specialist is still responsible for presenting to the school board in a public meeting the inspection status of any schools inspected during the preceding calendar year, However, as this is the first year under House Bill 1473, no schools have been inspected in accordance with the new law during the preceding calendar year.
Okay,
This is your announcement?
explain a little bit more. So
Absolutely.
are we not going to be getting a report for?
You will. This is two separate
one.
meetings. This is two separate presentations. So during the first school year, during the first quarter of the school year, the school safety specialist is still responsible for presenting the preceding calendar year school inspections.
So that will come in a future meeting.
Your first quarter will begin in
So
2025.
this is just an announcement that we are going to have those.
We have to, we're in compliance with the law. There's no exception or exemption
Got
for the first school year under this law.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
But yes, you will still be receiving quarterly reports when schools are inspected or re-inspected. There is, the compliance team is grown with the Office of Safe Schools. I'm in direct contact with our compliance leads. So when they do inspect our schools, we will present. It may be 0 schools that quarter that have been inspected in that quarter, but I am still responsible for presenting that information.
Great job.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so we will move on now to 10.01, Flagler Ford presentations. Superintendent Moore.
Yes, I'm excited about this, this opportunity to make sure my clicker works. Maybe it does, maybe not.
It's working.
Yes, it's going now.
It went a couple.
Okay, perfect. So, maybe, we'll get it. We'll get it there. When, last year, when I came on, the running joke is, am I gonna be able to do this presentation sitting down? And I am gonna sit and do it. I get very passionate. No, I'm not. I'm gonna sit. I get very passionate when I talk about the direction that we're going as a district. And so when we came on last year with Flagler Forward, I'm really looking at how do we move the organization forward as a whole. We developed a presentation that we went out and we gave all last year to different community groups, to parent groups, just anyone that invited us, we went out and we told the story of this is Flagler Schools, this is where we are. But last year we really focused a lot on our staff. And we focused on the community. This year, we're still focusing, of course, on the staff and the community, but a part of that is really the focus on the parents and helping the parents to understand where we're going. And so right now, there's a team of us that are going out and we're doing these Flagler Forward presentations at school events. Ms. Ramirez mentioned when I will be at Belterre Elementary School. Currently, we've gone to Matanzas High School and Indian Trails, and we will hit every school before the first semester is up. And I never do this, but I want to acknowledge Dr. O'Brien, Louise Bosterdet, and Teresa Phillips. They're always with me. They're in the background somewhere, making sure I stay within my time frame. But they do a lot of work of helping us to really tell the story of Flagler Forward. And so today we're going to focus on that presentation that I'm giving in the community. I think it will be beneficial for you to hear it here as our school board members, and I'm glad that our school board elects are also in the audience as well. Really showcasing the schools that fall under our purview. Oftentimes our community, they know our traditional schools, but Flagler and Flagler Technical College, they don't always think or know how we fit in with them, as well as with Imagine at Town Center. Thank you, Teresa. Teresa's gonna be, she knows my flow, so she's gonna go over and take over. I'm not gonna click at all. And then I showcase our Education Foundation to help our families, our community, our staff understand how we work together with the Education Foundation and what are the things that Education Foundation are doing, what are they doing in order to help Flagler schools, and here are some of the main programs that they are doing within Flagler County and schools. As of August, we had 13,571 students within Flagler Schools. This is the breakdown of those students. In July of 2024, we had 2,342 employees within Flagler Schools. We are the largest employer here in Flagler County. I do share that everywhere I go, because oftentimes people don't really think of us because we're public, you know. They think of who is the largest that is non-public. However, we are the largest employer here in Flagler County, and we're making a huge impact on this community, and so I share that. I also share on that slide is that when you look at the breakdown of our staff, almost 50% of our staff are in support positions. And so we always think about the teacher that is up front providing the instruction. But I like to point out that there's 42% of our staff are other people that are working to ensure that when our teachers stand up front before their classes, they can do the work that they are called to do. And so I always point that out, that it's almost 50% of our staff are in support positions, and then 2% of our staff are administrative.
I appreciate that slide because one of the things you hear, it's a sound bite. It's not necessarily relevant to Flagler County, but you often hear that school districts are heavy on the administrative side of the house. And when you look at that, it clearly shows you 2% to basically lead is nothing.
Yes, yes. All right. And then our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is 6 goals: academics, educational equity, resilience and well-being, talent, operational efficiency, and communication. And today we're going to really focus on goal 1 and goal 2, because those are the areas that we're really focused on to move our school district forward academically. I don't go anywhere without talking about our mission and our vision for Flagler Schools, because I truly believe that it is the root and the core of who we are as an organization. And it's important that our faculty, our staff, our students, our community, they know what we're working towards. And so I focus in on our vision. Our vision says that as a courageous, innovative leader in education, Flagler Schools will be the nation's premier learning organization where all students graduate as socially responsible citizens with the skills necessary to reach their maximum potential. When we talk about this as a vision, all students, right? That goes to our graduation, our focus on graduation rate, graduate 100. But when we look at with the skills necessary to reach their maximum potential, I believe strongly that that really focuses on what are the opportunities that we're providing for our students here within Flagler County. And this board just took about 30 minutes really talking about all of those opportunities that are available, and we'll look at some of them today. And then our guiding principles. Again, everything that we are doing, what we did last year as well as what we're doing this year, is really to bring us back to the core of who we are. This is not for LaShaka to bring in something new that I want and I desire, but our foundation is good. And so we have to get all of us back to the foundation of who we are as an organization and our guiding principles. And so I'm sure our team, I know our administrative team, they probably are tired of hearing me talk about the guiding principles. But we spent time, we defined them, we look at them, what do they mean? And we utilize them. And is it that the work that we're doing, do they align with our guiding principles? And so when we look at the first guiding principles, the principle being children first, I always say that children first does not mean adults last. But children first means that anything we do, we have to first think about how will this impact our students. And so that's really what children first means. Trust and respect for all, empower others, giving them the skills that they need in order to do their jobs and do their jobs well. Teamwork, because we have to work together in order for us to really reach the goal that we're going after. Excellence, quality, and consistency. Commitment to individual needs. And then my favorite is get to yes. But they're probably saying it in their head right now. I know Dave Freeman is, but I always say get to yes within a well-defined system so you can continue to say yes. I can say yes, but can I say yes to the person that comes behind you? And so I am one that I like structure, and so maybe that's why I hear that and see that in there. And so we're always talking about, let's put our kids first, let's get to yes. But when we get to yes, we have to get to yes within a system so we can continue to say yes, and we're not just giving out yeses because I like the person that's sitting before me. And then last year, we really started to push Flagler forward, Flagler forward, Flagler forward. And this was our 3 areas that we really focused on last year, is talking about our student achievement, talking about being a premier learning organization where we start to change our mindset and our expectations for how we operate. That goes to our PEP conversation that we had, making sure we have standard operating procedures so that we can do our jobs, well, and therefore really empowering individuals, and then the community impact. I know for sure, not just that because we are the largest employer, but if you want a community to thrive, our school district must thrive. And I say that everywhere I go.
So true.
People can choose to educate their children wherever they want to educate their children, but our public school system must continue to thrive because we are a driving force in the life we want to experience. And so when I'm with our faculty and staff, I tell them, stand up if you live in Flagler County. Because if you live in Flagler County, the work we do every day has an impact on the quality of life that we experience here in Flagler County. When people begin to look at moving to an area, they're going to look at how our school district is performing. They're going to, even if they don't educate their child within, or if they have children, they're going to look at that because that really tells what is the direction that the community is going into. And so the community impact and connection is extremely important to me. It's important that not just our families know what is happening in Flagler schools, but our community as a whole, including those who do not have school-aged children, they know what is happening within Flagler schools. And that last bullet, that they can have pride in what we are doing here, and that we are representing our community well each and every day.
And the reality is it drives property values. So, I mean, everybody has a stake.
Everybody does. Everyone does. I spoke with a lady last week, and she said, I don't have any children. I usually don't listen to anything about the schools. I said, well, you're the one that I want listening. I want you to know what's happening within Flagler schools, so that you can share and you can know that your dollars that are coming to us, that we are being responsible with our resources. So this year, our school grade calculation changed from years past. Before, all of our schools in our district, we were graded under one breakdown, and that has now since changed. Now, elementary, they are graded one way, and then middle school and high school, they have a different breakdown, and our combination schools and our district falls under the same as middle school and high school. So I want to bring this to the attention because this is important, because the first time I went out in the community, I had someone ask me a question, and they said, hey, I remember last year you were talking about the 62. We were at the 61. We got the 62. I don't understand why we're not an A.
Yeah.
And so this is the reason, because there has been this slight change that now, in order for us to be an A as a district, we have to receive 64% of the points instead of 62, which was the old system. Okay, so just bringing clarification to that, not saying good things, bad things about it, but this is where we are as a state, and this is what we're working towards. So Flagler Schools did come out as a B school district. We were 2 points from an A on the new grading scale. We received 62% of the points as a school district. But I am very, very excited because all of our schools are an A or a B, and it was 9 years since we've been in that place. And so I know that there has been talks in the community about, well, but there's still a B. And I always respond and say, well, when we were A, we had C schools, right? And so we are still a B. However, we can show the areas where we have improved. And if nothing else, we can definitely show where each of our schools have made improvements and growth. And I just want to highlight the hard work that Buddy Taylor and Bunnell put in order for them to come out of that cycle of being a C school, as well as to highlight Matanzas High School, who for the first time in 9 years also is now an A-rated school. And so this is the breakdown of all of our schools.
FPC coming up.
FPC's coming up, they're in the wind, and let me tell you, there's going to be a great day of celebration as we continue to move forward. It is definitely coming. I know that we have great leaders in our schools, and the leaders that are going to help get us to the place of being able to be once again a district that has all A schools. I worked here in Flagler County when we were all A schools within our district. So we've seen it, we've experienced it, and it's possible for us to be there again.
And it's pretty nice when you're sitting in that position.
Yeah, yeah. And so highlighting just the performance of the districts around us, we have St. John's, our partners to the north, Putnam, west, and then Volusia to our south, and where they are, just so people can have a reference of how our area is performing. Old Kings Elementary School, we're super proud of them. They are a school of excellence. They do have the School of Excellence designation for the state, and the statute below here just shows how you go about getting that, and it says that you have to be the 80th percentile or higher of schools that are in your same grade group. So they are at the 80th or higher percent that their performance is against all elementary schools. So they're doing great things at Old Kings.
Could we possibly invite their leadership and their teachers and their staff to a board meeting to acknowledge and recognize?
Absolutely.
That is quite the designation.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely.
Really proud of them.
We definitely can do that. So the areas that we're focused on this year in order for us to get our 2 points, but really move this district forward to not only be an A, but remain an A. And the areas are our target for kindergarten readiness and grade 3 ELA, our academic areas, always looking to improve those areas, the performance of our students with disability, and then acceleration and what we call Diploma Plus within Flagler Schools, and we're going to chat a little bit about those areas. So oftentimes, people start talking about grade 3 ELA and where we're performing in reference to other areas. And so if you'll go back to that slide, I want to point out grade 3 ELA. We have definitely continued to target that, continue to move forward with grade 3 ELA. But what I want to say about grade 3 ELA is that in order for us to improve grade 3 ELA, we have to improve our kindergarten readiness. There is a connection between kindergarten readiness and grade 3 ELA, and I'm sharing that everywhere we go, so that when people see or talk about grade 3 ELA, they immediately connect that back to what are we doing in our community in order to help our students before they even show up day one of kindergarten. And so if you go to the next slide, we'll see what our kindergarten readiness rate is. So right now, 53% of our students are coming in ready for kindergarten. And we're going to talk a little bit about what does it mean to be ready for kindergarten. For those who go to a VPK program, complete a VPK program, they are coming in at 65% of those students ready to learn. Students who do not complete VPK are coming in at 36% of those students are ready to learn. That is why we see the big push as a state, not only in our deficiencies that Mr. Reeves spoke about for reading and for math, identifying those students, but that's why we see the push to say it's important that students take advantage of the free VPK option that we offer here in the state of Florida. And how is that connected? You can look at any district, but this number here is always somewhere and we've done a great job because we've gotten that within 10 points. But when you look from district to district, kindergarten readiness to grade 3 ELA is always less than 10 points difference. And so if we want to see our grade 3 improve, we have to see our kindergarten readiness rate improve as well. We have to see our students coming in being ready to learn in kindergarten. So the next slide shows, like, here are all and all of this can be found on our website. This page is, here is a screenshot of our website. Here are all the things that students need to be able to do in order to be ready for kindergarten, to be ready for their teachers to begin teaching them. Sometimes when I'm out in the community, people ask about kindergarten and they think that kids are still taking naps, that they're, just doing kindergarten of their day. But our students that are in kindergarten are reading, they're writing connected sentences, they are doing math, they're learning science and social studies and all of these things. And so when they come in, they have to be able to do these skills. And so we have to be able to share this with the community around, if you have a child that is at home that is not yet school age, here are some things that you should be working with them on so that they are ready to learn when they step foot in kindergarten on day 1.
Do we know, because I know our mobility rate, right?
Yes.
How that plays in there. I'm sure we do know how many of our kindergartners, right, stay with us and they're the actual 3rd graders. Let me ask that be in the reverse. How many of our 3rd graders participated in our VPK programs?
Yes, we definitely can. I do not have that here, but I'll get that. I'll send that out, and we'll actually add that as a talking point.
Because that's how you could sparse out to see really the impact that VPK is having.
Yes, and to your point that you made earlier about students coming in and coming into the system, and maybe they're not on grade level. We do find that often those students that may not have been a part of VPK, or maybe they've started off their educational career in a different setting. How are those students coming in, and are they coming in on grade level for the grades that they're joining us? But we will definitely grab that information and include it. So when we look at our academic areas, these are these that are focused. Really just looking at, remember we just looked at 3rd grade, but now this is where we are academically for all of our different core areas. We of course need to continue to move forward and improve these areas, but this is not the reason why we are a B school district, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and show some more of this information with the next slide. So these are all the districts that are performing at or above us. We're in the top 3rd in ELA performance in the state. And so when we look at our grade 3 ELA, our ELA scores, it's not that we're poorly performing. Can we improve those areas? We can. But this is not the reason, our core is not the reason why we're not an A district. And we're going to really look at and point to, God bless you, what will help us to really reach that A and remain an A. So when we start talking about our students with disabilities, we have to improve how our students with disabilities are performing. We saw great improvement last year with our schools going into double-digit growth for our students with disabilities. And so this is an area that we're really focused on. And we're focused on making sure that our students are receiving quality Tier 1 instruction. And then are we utilizing high-yield instructional strategies? Are we providing the professional learning that we need? We also have looked at our staffing. Do we have the appropriate staffing in order for us to reach the direction that we want to go in and the growth that we need for our students with disabilities? And so this is an area that we have to always continue to work on if we're going to be an A and remain an A. Because again, it's great that we become an A, but are all of our students growing? Are all of our students going to graduate? And will all of our students have the skills necessary in order to reach their highest potential? And we have to make sure all of those, we can say yes to all of those areas. So when we look at accelerated opportunities is really why Flagler Schools is not an A, and I'm going to show you that with the data and not just what I think. And I know our staff is probably like, You know, I preach this over and over again because, so when we look at our middle school opportunities for acceleration, we do a good job with this in our middle schools, and we'll look at the data and we'll see that. We do a good job of getting our students in and allowing them to have the opportunity to be a part of algebra and/or geometry in middle school. We offer industry certifications, and when we're doing these industry certifications, we're wanting to make sure that these are going to be certifications that our students are going to be able to utilize when they do graduate from high school. We're not just trying to give them a certification that will mean nothing to them because they can't yet work, just so that we get it. That's not what our focus is. Our focus is really how do we give them certifications that will be meaningful to them, be it in high school or after high school. And then when we come to high school is extremely important when we look at industry certification opportunities for our students, passing an ACE or IB exam, dual enrollment, as well as military designation, which is listed here. These are the ways that we get accelerated opportunities. These are our high school areas, those are our diploma plus. Those are the ways that we allow for our students to have the skills necessary to reach their maximum potential. And so we'll go to the next slide and we'll get into some data shortly. Here are all the programs that are offered at Flagler Palm Coast High School. All the programs that are offered at Flagler Palm Coast High School. Again, all of this can be found on our website. Next slide shows here are all the programs that are offered at Matanzas High School. Next slide, here are the programs that are offered at Flagler Technical College that our students can take advantage of. So it's not because we don't have the opportunities for our students. So if we go on, and then this is our webpage where families can find the information about career and technical education and find the information about what we just shared. But if we go to the next slide, or go back, I'm sorry, to the slide with the ELA data, we will show, and I'm going to stand up for one moment. Well, I don't have to. If you look at this, remember these are all of the districts that are performing at or above us. If you look into the category where it talks about grade for the 2024 list, you'll notice one difference. Every district there is an A, but one. And if Ms. Phillips, if you'll just go all the way over so we can identify who the one is. Go all the way to the left. The one district is Flagler Schools. And so we wonder, why is that? Why is it that if all of these districts are performing at or above us academically, why are all of them A's and we are a B? And if you look into the category that is college and career acceleration, remember this is lagging information, right? You see where we're sitting? We have all of these opportunities, but only 50% of our students take advantage of them. Yeah. But when you look at the other districts that are A's, they're in the 60s, 70s. And so my thing is, for our community to know, academically, our students are learning and growing, they're performing. But if we as a community want to be an A, we have to take our graduate 100, all of our students graduate, and we have to move that a little further and say all of our students should graduate, but they should graduate with more than a high school diploma. They should graduate with a high school diploma plus one of the opportunities that we had listed here.
Amen.
Industry certification, they should be an ACE or IB, they should have dual enrollment, they should have their military designation through the ASVAB. Because we offer all of these programs to our students, but only about 50% of our students are taking advantage of them. And of that 50%, many of them are taking advantage of multiple opportunities. And so those students are graduating with the skills necessary. But the others who are not taking advantage of it, they're leaving and with a quality high school diploma. But I always say to our community, to our families, to our staff, them leaving and improving in the area of college and career is going to save them time and it's going to save their family money. This is dollars that we've already invested as a community into these resources, and we have to make sure that our students are taking advantage of it. And we want to make sure that they're not just taking advantage of these programs, but they're becoming completers of the program as well. Because some of them may take the first course, but maybe they're not completing it. And so last year, we spoke this message everywhere. I'm sure that bring any administrator here from our district, they will be able to give this whole full presentation. When they hear me say Diploma Plus, they understand what that means for them at elementary, at middle, and at high school. But we have to continue to provide an opportunity for our students. And that opportunity has to be more than passive, right? So when you go to the educational equity goal that you as a board have adopted in our strategic plan, it talks about providing access to our students to these opportunities, these Diploma Plus opportunities. But our access cannot be passive. So the access is there, right? You can take the course, you can go to the website, you can find the course, you can ask information. But are we providing them with this opportunity, this access in a way that is more than just passive? That we're sitting with them and we're saying, which of these things do you want to be a part of? We're not going to choose it for them. Also, when we talk about access, are we sharing with families that we offer these programs and there's more to them than, my kid is in this class? Well, no, this class will translate into your child being able to work, your child being able to get into maybe the college of their choice, all of these opportunities that these courses that we provide offer to our students post-graduation. And so sharing just ways that families can support, ways that our community can support. First and foremost, we always have to have students in class, and so really promoting regular attendance to school, a positive attitude towards learning. Get Skyward access, check Skyward often for your child and how your child is performing. Stay in touch with your teachers, your students' teacher, the school staff, and administration. In our community, oftentimes our families go directly to social media platforms, and maybe they get helpful information there, but how do we help them go to the source? And so coming to the teacher, to the school staff, to the administration, and then talking about what their future plans are. What is it that you want to do? When we are looking at our seniors in high school, to your point of what you gave Mr. Furry for the liaison update, those career fairs are a part of an experience that we want to create for our 8th graders. We're going to have those careers are going to be there, but next to them will be our programs within our high school. So they can see, oh, I want to go into construction. All right, well, let me talk to the construction course teachers or students from our high schools. And so that's a part of the experience that we're developing in 8th grade. We're also going to be taking our 8th grade students on a field trip to our high schools so that they can get a chance to see high school in action, not just when they go for the events that they go with their parents, but to take them on a school day. We're going to be doing that, and then we're going to be having for our high schoolers, we're going to have a community-wide college and career day that we're going to take our students on a field trip to the community center where we're going to turn it into a complete expo that they can go in. We're inviting our families of those 8th graders to come and be a part of the career days that you're talking about. We're inviting our families to come and be with their 8th grader, because what we want is for our students, when they're sitting in 8th grade and they're starting to select their courses, to be thinking about these opportunities that they want to be a part of. And we want to get to a place that students are selecting their high school based on what that school offers, that is going to help them to reach the vision that we have as an organization for them to be able to reach their maximum potential. And so that's an abbreviated, quick version of our Flagler Forward trainings and presentations that we're doing out in the community. We share lots of different data, answer any questions that our family or our community members have around what's happening here within Flagler schools, as well as addressing any myths or misinformation that may be out there about how we're performing. Because again, I'll be the first one to say, can we do better? Absolutely. There's always room to grow, but it's not that we're poorly performing by any means, but we really need to make sure that we're providing and sharing our story and sharing with families all that we offer within Flagler schools.
Excellent. Really excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you,
excellent
Sherry.
presentation. Thank you. Very informative and encouraging, and looking forward to seeing us execute this.
Great things,
And-
great things in store.
Yeah, and the expos, I'm really excited for that because, you know, especially in the 8th grade, like you said, is that they're going into high school, and it's like, you know, every kid has a different feeling about attending school and doing it, and it's just, I gotta do it, I'm required to do it. But having an incentive, saying like, finding an interest there in 8th grade, and saying, I want to be in construction, and knowing that if they want to get there, if they do this, there's going to be something waiting for them after they graduate, right? You know, so I mean, having that incentive out there, let them know it, work towards something, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, so our, last year we did the expo for our 8th graders at Buddy Taylor. We did not do it at Indian Trails last year, but this year we're doing it at both schools. And I'm excited for a lot of the great things that we have in store. And the Education Foundation, they are working directly with the chamber to get these businesses in, and then get our programs of study students and their teachers to be a part of these events. So Buddy Taylor will be in October, and Indian Trails will be in November.
Excellent.
Yep.
It's exciting.
And we ask our families to come and be a part of it so that they can see, well, there's a specific time that families can come. They have to sign up in advance, but they can come and walk the expo with their students. And so we ask families to come and be a part of it.
Very cool.
Very good. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again, Superintendent Moore. Okay, so now we move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment scheduled? Is there anybody that would like to come forward now for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to board member requests. Are there any board member requests today?
No.
Okay. All right, then we will go to closing comments. Anybody
None
have-
here now.
Okay. Superintendent Moore?
See you tonight.
Okay. Ms. Hunt, did you have anything? Okay, then
I
this,
do not, Chair Furry, thank you.
okay.
And I will just add, in case, you know, there are people watching that may not be watching tonight, we just do give condolences to the family of our student that we lost this week. And we ask that this community as a whole, really keep Flagler Schools, but specifically Flagler Palm Coast High School in their thoughts and their prayers.
It's been a
rough 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And it would probably, for the start of the meeting tonight, it would be appropriate to do a moment of silence
Yeah,
for the family and the student,
absolutely.
families.
There's 2 of them affected.
Yeah.
Thank you for acknowledging that. All right, well, this meeting is adjourned.